Um, uh, I've tried to condense to get some meaning from your presentation, talking about the newness of life every moment, because everything now decays with time, so it has to be life has to renew itself. So is the NuNowness in the context of the new presentation, is the NuNowness a reinterpretation of the old with a fresh breath, an adaptation to the present needs of man, or is it a complete doing away with the past? Okay, I find that truth builds on truth. And let me draw from a past reference. And as Jesus once said, he had not come to destroy the law, but to renew and revamp it. Okay, this resulted in the biblical New Testament. So, is the new presentation a complete destruction of the past, or is it a reinterpretation and re-innovation of the past to suit the present?
Well, you know, that's again what you referred to. That's one way to say it. But again, you need you just like newspapers you buy every day. It's you know, it's the new news, and the old papers go wherever. But there's no destruction of anything, because again, what we're doing is in creation. Okay, what we're referring to is creation, and it's the same block of clay. You just work it a different way so that people have the opportunity to recognize more than they ever have before. So in other words, what has presented itself up to this very moment through the known human history, which is mainly distortion, but whatever, it doesn't matter, whatever it is, people have, you know, they have become aware, they have recognized what they have accordingly, all right? So whatever that is, everybody's different. You see the overall, there's individual consciousness in creation, and there's the overall or group consciousness in creation. There are groups, and then there's the world consciousness, okay? Because again, there's a basic agreement. You know, it's kind of like when you make something on the stove. You're going to make spaghetti sauce, and you put all these, you put the tomato sauce, the meat, the onions, the cheese, the spices, whatever. Eventually it all mixes, doesn't it? And it all becomes what it does. And this is the world consciousness. This is what is in creation. With all this mixture, it has become what it's become. And so to, you know, bring into this, you know, something that, you know, it's kind of like all of a sudden you've got the spaghetti sauce there. Now you drop the meatballs in. Well, the meatballs are floating by themselves, aren't they? In all this spaghetti sauce that you mixed up. So we'll say the spaghetti sauce, it's a good reference too, because a lot of people like Italian food, is the consciousness of the world. And this is just kidding, we're the meatballs, okay? All right. If you guys saw that movie Meatballs in Space or whatever. But anyhow, so we're kind of the funny ones here, and that is that because we're different. We're here, and we do, but realistically we don't blend in. In other words, we're in the present time, but we don't bond and really necessarily have to attach ourselves to what's here, but we're just simply here. And yes, everything that you're referring to is in creation, so we're simply taking what already exists in creation, and we're simply implementing it in a particular way to where it does appear different, but yet all of creation is really the same thing. It just depends upon where you're standing, what you're viewing. So all of a sudden yes, people live on the ground, they sleep on the ground, their little huts, but now we build a 10-story building. All of a sudden, that's what we're doing, a 20-story building, and now people can take the elevator up, and all of a sudden, now they're on the top floor, and they look down upon everything that they've known so far. Now, all of a sudden, they have a new view. It's like, wow, we see so much more. Wow, look at all we can see, you see? So what we're providing is, yes, it's the same creation, but what we're providing is a better reference for people to see more, aren't we? Yes. Why do people, go up to mountaintops on ski lifts and fly in airplanes and parachute, whatever? Because they want to see more, don't they? Why do they fly into outer space and then look back at the Earth? Because they want to see more. And just by doing that, all of a sudden, they have a new recognition, don't they? They have a new view. They're on a new plateau. And so, yes, that's what we're doing. It's all in creation. It's just how you see it. And this is what you realize after a while. All creation is the same. So, again, it only makes sense to create something to where people have the opportunity and benefit to see more, you see? That's all. And this is how it is projected on the real side, because it's a demonstration. It's a hint at what is possible. And this is why many times people go up into taller buildings or whatever, because as they go higher and higher, they can see more, can't they? They can see more and more and more. I remember in 2001 or so, one of the younger kids there, his name was Kenny. He had this experience where he was in the Statue of Liberty at the very top, where you're in the little headdress or whatever, the crown up there, and he was viewing out. And one of the boys was there with him, and he had the impression, or they said to him, he said, you can have this view, but it's going to cost you $20,000 a month. And so he came back with that experience. In other words, he was standing in the Statue of Liberty on the very, very the top of this, unless you got outside of it and walked on top of one of the spikes or whatever. But he was up there to where you can view, and that was the idea, because the idea is that you want this view, you got to earn it. You see, and you got to figure it out. So this is what it costs. So in other words, people want to live, let's say, in a penthouse or have a mansion. Well, you can have that. You can have whatever you want, but you've got to in some way figure out how to earn it. There's monetary ways, there's realistic ways, whatever. So that's an example, but it is the scene, you see. And so the references that have been used are fine, but again, it's like the God reference. It's like the Savior reference. It doesn't work, because it really doesn't reference the true reality. This is where it has to be redone. And just like Paul, he vamped it up, but now we're a lot further with the new wave is. We're a lot further with that, and that's demonstrated. Claudia I would say, is one of the best witnesses to this, because of her awesome experiences, and that she sees this. And others do too, but I would say that she's the best witness, and this is needed. This is why the boys brought her forward, and she decided to say, yes, I'll do it. She's here to help me out and to figure out a lot of things for a lot of people, and this is great. And everyone is in their own way as they decide it, you see, and it's not about me. It's so that, I can take this and I can utilize this into the world, and so everybody can. So like Kelsey and Chris and whatever, and Vesna and Ava and everybody, and like yourself. And so, the past references are cute. They're cutesies. But if we keep referencing that, then we're at that viewpoint. Then you might say we're at ground level, and that's all we see. You only see so much with that reference. Just like the God idea. It's all over the world. All over the world. It's on the money, everything. And what do people see with that? They're agreeing to their own demise, you see. So it's got to be redone. Things have to be reworked, redone in creation. Otherwise, people will continue to keep agreeing with their own unconscious demise, and that's what they're doing. We see it. We see the tap lining. We see the infection. Because realistically, there's an agenda. There's not a true and pure and real intent with these people. There's an agenda, and that the agenda is control and destruction. So the end result is, doesn't matter. It can be all the good people in the world praying with their hearts out, but they keep agreeing with the agenda of destruction, and so they're part of it. They've agreed. They're accomplices. It's their choice. No one's making them do it. They keep thinking that the gods are deciding for them when it's really them. They've fooled themselves. So yes, Charles, again, these are references. And simply cut the emotional attachment to them. You'd be a lot better off. And if they're needed in some particular way, I've used many references from the past to help graduate people very quickly into a better idea of things. But then again, it's their choice. They stand wherever they do, and they decide to cross the line or whatever, hop the fence, whatever you have, whatever idea is, and see what else there is. And yesterday, there was an experience on Sam's show there, where the lady, certain things happened, and she kind of went through this really nice area, this beautiful area. Then finally, she came to this bridge and was crossing the bridge. Well, that is where she went through the astral worlds, and then finally came to the bridge that went over this river that flowed. And while she was going over the bridge, one of the people was with her. It was a child, her child, whatever. I don't remember, but he started to, slip off or something. She grabbed him, and she told him that the river is very dangerous. That's the old idea, go with the flow, okay? In other words, just go with things no matter what it is, and really that's the social consciousness, the world consciousness. The bridge represented a bridge over that into the real universes. Then the experience stopped. Okay, so again, we get these hints and references to recognize them. That's huge. And so with the knowledge that we have now, yes, this becomes the better reference. The old references are really emotional attachments, is what they are. This is why people get emotional when they read the Bible and things like this. They really become emotional attachments that do not, or to where the individual does not really recognize the all aliveness life is, the isness. No, there's no recognition there. It's just an agreement with a literal interpretation, and then they add emotion to it, thinking that, emotion is the ultimate. And it's not. It becomes a restriction. So we use emotion in certain things, enthusiasm, whatever. Sometimes we're a little upset, and we use emotion there too. We scream a little. Okay, there's emotion. But emotion is really a mechanical stimuli. It's a sensation. It's a stimulation is what it is. The isness of life supersedes that. So again, cut the attachments. You don't need them. And again, you can create better references, but if you want to use the old ones, that's fine. But if people stay in the old references, then they're just going to stay old. And they're going to stay in their comfort zone. People are comfortable. Most people are comfortable with the old references. They don't see that it's all infected and it's creating their demise. Those comfort zones don't work. They never have. They've been band-aids until the next real position comes along, and that's us. And so, again, they're very shallow references. And so this has become human history. Again, the systems that employ these things, they do it for marketing ploy, to hold people to old stuff that's dead, just like the cross. The cross is meant to be a holy thing, but it's really a grave marker. That's really where it came from. So again, you decide. So yes, you've prompted all this, Charles. Thank you. Thank
you. Yeah, thank you, Duane. Lest I forget, somebody asked me about, because we've been talking about reptilians. So this person wanted to know, where do these reptilians come from?
Well, where does the mold and moss and bacteria in your kitchen come from? Come from. Everything comes from something, doesn't it? And it really doesn't matter where they come from. the reality is they're here. But again, there's a lot of information, a lot of viewpoints. I would say point them to YouTube. If they're interested in that, it's like, well, go study it. Go watch a bunch of YouTube videos. You'll get a better understanding. You'll have real side experiences, which is fine because all of us are on our adventure. And so if that's what the person wants to utilize as a relationship to eventually recognize the is, then go for it. Whatever anybody decides for themselves when they make statements, I said, okay, go for it, have fun. Again, I don't know the journey of each person. And so we're very fortunate today because we have the movies, we have all this information on YouTube, etc. And I've talked a lot about it, but yeah, it's good to get other viewpoints too, because there's many, many viewpoints. There's a lot of things I don't know. I've just kind of skimmed the surface of it. But at the same time, if it becomes, more important than everything else, well, then you're not really seeing the idea because it's not. Then it just becomes something marketed like what David Icke and others do, or Tony Robbins, and they talk about their courses and stuff like this. Well, then they become the authority, you might say, and basically what they've discovered is part of the ultimate absolute other authorities, you see. And really it's one-dimensional. But if a person wants to do that, I would say do it. And a lot of us, Kelsey and Vesna and others, and Ava, and sometimes myself and Chris, and we're looking at a lot of videos and collecting a lot of knowledge, and that is to better present what we're presenting so that we do have knowledge of these things, and we can share this with people, and we can creatively put it together to where it makes better sense to eventually recognize this true reality. You see, that's the important thing, and that is to where these things are just really locked into a one dimension, and that is they do not reference the true reality. And if what we are deciding and learning and studying and creating here does not reference the true reality, then why you do it? Then you're just going to keep circulating like you always have. You're just going to stay in creation. It's not thinking that you're getting somewhere. It's not thinking that someone's going to drag you somewhere. No, it's not so. Just like people think that Harry's going to take care of them after their life is done. Harry can't do anything. All Harry can do is utilize reference. Each person has to recognize it for themselves. And the same here. The guides cannot do anything. They cannot recognize it for you. So, all these things are fine. But when a person gets locked into them, and that's all that it becomes, and they just basically, many times, they will follow other authorities. But unless they're referencing the all is with what they're doing, then it's like kind of like being stuck in an auditorium with them and never getting out, because that is the consciousness that has been created. And I would say that would reflect on the real side, and you would see that. And I wouldn't doubt if many Ekkas have an experience to where, yeah, on the real side they're in the temple, but then all of a sudden the doors are locked and they can't get out. See, they've created the temple idea, thinking that they're safe, just like the FEMA camps, but they're really trapped. So it's how you see it, isn't it? As a reference or a reality. And many people turn these things into their reality. That becomes the difference. So to study anything and everything that's gone on, yes, I would suggest do it. It gives you a better, objective view with what we're doing in reference to the true reality. You need all these views as comparisons to better recognize this reality, but not get stuck with them. Again, cut the ties, cut the emotional ties, thinking that, okay, this person over here, he's this or that. And then again, everybody's just collecting references realistically, but when they become the authority and it becomes an absolute, that's where people trap themselves and become self-convinced, and then they go nowhere, because then they don't see the is, because all they do is see the ideas that they've created about the other ideas that others have created. You see, ideas upon ideas upon ideas. You've got all these layers going, and now you've got to decide to see through those layers, but as you become self-convinced, that becomes your reality. Yeah, it's a fine line. So yeah, life's the big adventure, and again, we are the best reference. The idea of the new presentation right now is the idea is to, step up with others and be supported and support others as we're, focusing on getting these projects going. And the more agreement we get with that, the more people that step up and become real, the more real it becomes. And so all the people that don't know what to do with themselves, as they really start to see what we're really doing in some way. So the first thing is, I would suggest, is to just take the time, and again, as an idea, Facebook is a very good idea, just simply start sharing. But get out there, and after you, like King and the other ones, Evoke and whatever, get out there and start a group. We don't do classes, we do groups, okay? We did the classes, now we do groups, because we are grown-ups. And so we've grown up. And so to do that, to take on the adventure in some way, get people together and see if they will agree to do something. And eventually we can all take part in the worldwide projects that are being created and presented here. So yeah, that's the whole idea, because we want the involvement. Just like, people get together and play baseball or football together. They have fun together, and this is what it's about. I always decided, let's have fun at this, and that's as the projects get going more so. And just like the Skypes, they're fun. We exchange this knowledge, and we, as you listen, you become more aware. You start to see things better. But then it's to step up in activity and seeing if you can get others involved. So we all support each other. That's very important. Is that support, not just having the knowledge, but we step up and we support each other until we are doing the projects, actually doing them. And then the whole world will be a demonstration to the whole world. They will see what we're doing, and then the whole of life becomes more aware. See, we're taking part in that wholeness, that all aliveness. We're taking part in that to where everybody becomes more aware. So anyhow, let's thank you, Charles. You're wonderful. We will see you next week. You must come back, because we must do this. We must complete this, because this is our adventure. Because if we don't, we don't.
What do you think about the meditation?
Here's the idea. Okay, you can do whatever you want. Okay, that's your life. The new you is like the sun shining. So just sing the new you, and just be like the sun shining, and you will eventually become more aware of what your real side experiences. So whatever else you do in your life, that is your choice. Okay.
That's right. That's fine. Since about a week now, I've been singing it. I've been seeing some study on my energy field somehow. I started to feel somehow like there's a little bit of fearing coming to me, but now it's getting clearer. I'm trying to aware of that. So I don't know how to explain it very well. Before I used to fear a little bit. Then I started to ask myself, what's this meaning? Where is this thing is coming from? Who am I fearing? I used to ask myself like that. But since I started singing whatever about New You, I feel a little bit changes, and I start looking at it. What do you think about that?
Well, again, as you sing the new you, and because you've done meditation and these things, so that's been an aid for you to get to this point. And now the new you will enhance everything you do, so it'll become better because it's the real connection to the true reality life is, okay, more so than just creation. So meditation has its place, but it's basically in creation. And the new you is to the true reality, the all is, so that supersedes that. So there are no restrictions with the new you. So you just have fun with it. You're doing fine. Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you for asking. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, everybody. It's all for you. Yes, as you step up and support what we're doing, we support you. This is how it works. It's wonderful. Yes, and we really, you might say, need you here, Charles, because you do prompt a lot of interesting questions, and it's for the world, and we are the best demonstration for this world besides the sun shining. So yes, we get the adventure. Lucky us, it is a privilege. Thank you so much for showing up, and we'll see you kids next time. Thank you.